It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10, our top story. Labour suspends one of its MPs, Mike Amesbury, after new images emerge of him punching a man in the street. Working people are told they won't see higher taxes on their payslip, as the Chancellor promises to help strivers in this week's budget. Benjamin Netanyahu is heckled during a speech in Jerusalem. He says Israel's attack on Iran this weekend has met all objectives. Donald Trump gets his Madison Square Garden moment. The former president is due to take to the stage on the campaign trail in New York. A warning that racism is damaging the teaching profession. Sky News hears from a teacher discriminated against at her former college. In the sport, Arsenal and Liverpool draw 2-2 in a thriller at the Emirates Stadium. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30. Good evening. A Labour MP has been suspended from the party after new footage emerged showing him punching a man in the street. Last night, Mike Amesbury, the MP for Runcorn, issued a statement after mobile phone footage first emerged of the incident. Mr Amesbury said he'd felt threatened. Today, more images emerged showing him punching someone. Our North of England correspondent Charlotte Leeming reports.
New footage emerged appearing to show the Labour MP Mike Amesbury punching a man on the ground in his constituency. And now the 55-year-old has been suspended from the Labour Party as police investigate the heated exchange outside a taxi firm in the early hours of Saturday morning.
Mike Amesbury released a statement yesterday regarding this incident outside the taxi firm here. He said in it that he felt threatened in the street following a night out with friends and that he'd contacted Cheshire Police himself and was cooperating with their inquiries.
The MP at Runcorn smacking someone on the floor.
The new footage follows another video that was filmed by an onlooker and posted on social media on Saturday before being shared widely online.
It's the local MP, Jono. Get him on camera. Get him on camera, Jono. It's the local MP.
The Labour Party said in a statement, Mike Amesbury has been assisting Cheshire Police with their inquiries following an incident on Friday night. As these inquiries are now ongoing, the Labour Party has administratively suspended Mr Amesbury's membership of the Labour Party pending an investigation. In an update relating to the inquiry, Cheshire Police said a 55-year-old man had been voluntarily interviewed under caution relating to this incident and has since been released pending further inquiries. Charlotte Leeming, Sky News, Frodsham.
Working people will not see higher taxes on their payslip following this week's budget, a government minister told Sky News today. But Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson repeated warnings that the budget will include tough decisions. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, says her financial statement will be a budget for the strivers. Well, we now know a bit more about what will be included. We're expecting to see £10 billion put aside to tackle NHS waiting lists. It's been confirmed that £500 million will be spent on building up to 5,000 new affordable homes. Rebuilding what the government's called crumbling schools will also be prioritised in the budget with investment of £1.4 billion. And this is how it will be paid for. Employers' national insurance contributions are expected to rise by up to 2%. There could also be an increase to the £2 price cap on bus fares. And a freeze on income tax bans beyond 2028 is also expected. Our political correspondent Tamara Cohen reports.
The Chancellor's message on day one was that these celebrations wouldn't last for long, with difficult choices on the road ahead. After nearly 4 months, those choices, tax rises, spending cuts, are sweeping into view. Labour's election manifesto promised no rises in taxes for working people. But is it clear who they are?
Prime Minister says working people don't include those who make money from investment.
What we're talking about here is people whose main income arises from the fact they go out to work every day. And they're the people that we've been clear about, both in the election and now, that they will not face higher taxes in their payslip following this
lots
budget.
of people who got...
We think taxes on working people are already too high.
The main revenue raiser in the budget is expected to be a hike in employers' national insurance, the tax businesses pay on everyone they hire. The former Bank of England governor says it hits workers too.
All this debate about not putting up taxes on working people is a terrible illusion, really. Taxes are paid by people. They're not paid by companies or institutions. Ultimately, they fall on the amount that people can spend.
During the election campaign, Labour politicians railed against broken public services, but were very coy about how, if they got into the corridors of power, they would raise the cash to fix them. The Chancellor's narrative is that the black hole in the public finances was bigger than expected, but her critics say Labour weren't straight with the voters.
They lied to the British public during the election campaign. They said that their plans didn't require any taxes over and above those in the Labour manifesto. They said they wouldn't increase national insurance, and it looks like they plan to do that.
Investment for the future will be a theme of this budget, but regional mayors, both Labour and Conservative, are sceptical about the funding for it.
It's about building and investing in the future, and that future is a future that will drive growth, drive prosperity, and help me ensure that people in this West Midlands are getting access to jobs and better paid jobs.
If you don't have that money and that infrastructure and that, those people in your local authorities who can deliver those projects, the cheque will stay on the desk and it will never turn into anything real.
Rachel Reeves describes this as a budget for strivers, people who work hard, wait too long for NHS treatment and cannot afford a home. On Wednesday, she'll confirm what she means when she says she's got their backs.
We'll hear more from Tamara in just a moment. But first, while Rachel Reeves says the budget will be one for the strivers, many families preparing for Halloween are hoping there won't be any horrors for them when she stands up in the Commons on Wednesday. Lisa Dowd reports.
It is a scary time, and talk of Labour's Halloween budget is not raising everyone's spirits. The Chancellor says she'll make tough but fair decisions on tax to kickstart the economy. It's unnerving for some.
I'm an employer myself, so it hits me twice.
They promised so much before the election and now it just seems to be they're targeting the wrong people.
We've probably got to be realistic about the tax that we pay and the funds that are needed to improve the services that we have in this country.
Rachel Reeves says the money raised will be ploughed into failing public services, hospitals, schools and roads. The last thing that the Chancellor wants to do is to spook people even more. So to hard-working families, she is saying, don't worry, I've got your back. This, she says, is a budget for the strivers. Do you consider yourselves strivers?
You've got to strive to survive these days. Life is tough.
I think you've got to strive for your children.
The Strange family, with dad an NHS employee and mum a shop worker, hope that the Chancellor counts them as hard-working.
Inflation's high, salaries don't go up. It's hard to make ends meet. It's really tough to make it, make the salaries, stretch them out.
We have to budget every single month for what we need.
Absolutely.
Can you absorb any more financial pain?
Oh, no. Definitely not.
No more pain, not financial pain.
The Chancellor says that the strivers may be stuck on NHS waiting lists, their children taught in crumbling schools, or workers who can't afford their own home. Farmer Alan says he's a striver. He's diversified from dairy to pumpkins to survive, but he's worried about changes to inheritance tax.
Farming has been very difficult this last few years, and an increased tax burden could be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
What kind of an impact would it have on you and your business?
Reducing or doing away with agricultural property relief could finish us as a business.
The government has warned for months that what is coming will hurt. The pumpkin pickers of Ashover just hope that they can absorb the pain. Lisa Dowd, Sky News, Derbyshire.
Let's go back to our political correspondent now, Tamara Cohen, who's outside Downing Street. And Tamara, are we expecting any more revelations before Wednesday?
Well, Gillian, we are going to be hearing from the Prime Minister tomorrow, as a number of the newspapers have picked up. He's now back from his global travel, as all of government is now gearing towards the Chancellor's statement on Wednesday. And if not any more policies, and we've had quite a few briefed or leaked out already, an attempt perhaps to get some of the pain out in advance, what we'll certainly get is more of the narrative, more of the story Labour are telling about what they want to achieve with these spending cuts and tax rises, something that I think Labour MPs would privately say has been a bit lacking over the last few weeks, perhaps especially when they brought in the cuts to the winter fuel allowance. A couple of the papers have picked up on something Keir Starmer will be talking about tomorrow, which is that this budget is about shining the harsh light of reality on the public finances. This idea that the Conservatives, in his view, covered up the state of the public finances. That is why tough decisions need to happen, but the idea that they will pay off within this Parliament, the government say, in order to make public services better. Another message that many cabinet ministers have been pushing over the last few days is that this is not a return to austerity, and that's something a lot of Labour MPs in more marginal constituencies are concerned about, the idea this is not a repeat of those cuts during the coalition years. So after a weekend of more distractions, including, of course, Mike Amesbury, the MP who has been suspended over that extraordinary footage of him punching a man in Runcorn, Labour will be hoping that this is the week they land some of those key messages that there is pain now, but potentially gains in years to come.
OK, tomorrow, thank you, we shall see. And we will have full budget coverage here on Sky News on Wednesday from 10 a.m. To the Middle East now, and protesters have heckled Benjamin Netanyahu shortly after he hailed Israel's attacks on Iran over the weekend a success. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, authorities are treating a truck crash which killed one person and injured 35 others as a terror attack. This report from our security and defence editor, Deborah Haynes, begins in Gaza, where local medics say 11 people died in an Israeli airstrike on a school.
Lost in grief after learning her daughter is missing and another relative has been killed in a strike on a building used as a shelter for displaced families. Israeli warplanes hit this place in northern Gaza, once a school, now a disaster zone. The Israeli military says it was targeting a Hamas command centre. Local officials say 11 people were killed, including 3 journalists. A daily hell for more than a year across this territory, even as senior officials representing all sides meet in Qatar to resume faltering peace talks. At a memorial in Jerusalem for the victims of the 7th of October attacks by Hamas that triggered Israel's war in Gaza, the Prime Minister was heckled by protesters.
משפחות יקרות, זכר קרוביכם.
Shame on you, they shout. Many here blame Benjamin Netanyahu for the security failures that enabled the Hamas assault. At a separate speech, the Prime Minister talked tough about his country's strikes on Saturday against its arch-enemy, Iran.
Whoever hurts us, we hurt him, and this is the principle that guided us to this day.
In Tehran, though, its leader had a warning of his own.
The Zionist regime's miscalculation must fall apart. They are yet to appreciate Iran's power, capability, creativity and willpower.
Danger too for Israel, much closer to home. This truck crushed passengers getting off a bus outside a military base near Tel Aviv. One person was killed and dozens more injured.
Investigators are now picking through the wreckage of the truck that ploughed into these people. This investigation is being treated as a possible terrorist attack, and that truck will be providing a lot of clues.
As we watch, the body of the driver, an Arab Israeli, was taken away. Deemed a potential threat, Police say he was shot dead at the scene. But this is still a live investigation as officials hunt for answers. Deborah Haynes, Sky News, Tel Aviv.
With just over a week to go until the US presidential election, Donald Trump will get his Madison Square Garden moment tonight as the former president appears at the legendary venue in New York City. Our US correspondent James Matthews is there for us, and I think technically we can't join James because he's just frozen in the screen, but JD Vance is speaking at the moment. Can we listen into what he has to say?
Now, my friends, I've got the easiest job in American politics. Think about this. All I've got to do is remind people what life was like when Donald J. Trump was president of the United States. We had peace. We had prosperity. Take-home pay was rising the fastest that it had in 40 years. Inflation was at 1.5%, the lowest that it had been in a generation. Gas and groceries were affordable. And when Donald Trump was president, we had the most secure border in the history of this country.
OK, well, let's leave JD Vance there, as he's saying he's got the easiest job. Just all he has to do is remind people of what life was like under Donald Trump. Well, let's join James Matthews now, who's at that rally. James, why is Donald Trump holding this rally in New York? After all, it is a Democrat stronghold, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, Gillian. He won't win New York in terms of the presidential race, but there are down-ballot races, and so there is campaigning value for him in being here. He's come to the iconic Madison Square Garden in an effort to create momentum. There will be more Trump events between now and the election, but this is the big set piece. We've been here, I have to say, more than 3 hours and counting. And there's something like 30 speakers on the bill. JD Vance right now, Elon Musk to come, and of course Donald Trump himself. There is controversy, I might say. Madison Square Garden is a celebrated venue with a big history, but there was a dark day in its history in 1939 when a Nazi rally took place here. Hillary Clinton and other Trump opponents are drawing a parallel between that, Clinton saying that this is a reenactment of that 1930s Nazi rally. That's been dismissed as disgusting by Donald Trump's team, and indeed we've had that repeated on the stage. But it feeds into opposition criticism of Trump and claims by former aides about him being a fascist. You know, there was a day when the baggage of Donald Trump, the sexual abuse, the business fraud, the criminal conviction, accusations of fascism would have been enough on their own to be terminal for any political career, but clearly not the case right now. As I look around me, I see a packed 20,000 crowd, solid and substantial behind Donald Trump, and of course that kind of crowd has him neck and neck with only days to go.
James, thank you very much. We'll leave the rally there. Back to you later on if we need to. Well, as we've been hearing, Elon Musk will join Donald Trump on stage in New York later this evening. It comes after Musk gave away another $1 million to a Trump supporter at an earlier event in Pennsylvania. Our US correspondent Mark Stone was there.
The queue stretched well beyond the doors of this Pennsylvania hotel. They'd been arriving through the afternoon for an evening with the world's richest man.
I'm supporting Trump and Elon, absolutely. Yeah, they're great for our country and for our future.
On message and on brand.
Is it Trump, is it Musk, or is it both?
Both. And I'm really hoping to hear that Musk is going to say that he's going to take over efficiency of the government.
Have you come down here to see Elon Musk, to support Donald Trump, or to get $1 million?
To support, it's America first, and we need to keep praying for this election. It's do or die.
And so they squeezed into the ballroom for a billionaire who was late. Sport filled the time, and awkwardly, campaign ads for the other side, met with pantomime boos. Eventually, he arrived. It was hard not to wonder why they had been drawn tonight. They've been watching over the past week as this Trumpian Willy Wonka has been touring swing states.
We're at like I said, a fork in the road of destiny.
Handing out checks of $1 million to lucky individuals.
Maybe the aliens will come visit us. Maybe they are here right now. I don't know.
Well, it's certainly been a meandering conversation. There's been talk about how brilliant Twitter is, how amazing Cybertrucks are, talk about whether aliens exist, when he will go to Mars. But beyond that, within that conversation, there has been some pretty thoughtful stuff about how political policy could change in America.
What would be your plan to make government more efficient?
Where would you start with government efficiency? It's kind of like being in a room where the entire room is targets. And so you can shoot in any direction and not miss. So it can't be like, we'll trim a little bit here and there. That's not going to work. There have to be quite radical reductions in cost. All right.
Then it was time for the $1 million moment.
Judy Kimura.
The winner, naturally delighted, Mr. Musk reacted like he'd given away a tenner. There are serious questions about whether this lottery is legal and about Musk's motivation for all this. No one did ask him about his alleged conversations over several years with Vladimir Putin. No one asked him about conflicts of interest if he does serve in a second Trump term. With the election so close, it seems there isn't time for scrutiny. Mark Stone, Sky News in Pennsylvania.
Black and brown teachers are less likely to be accepted into an initial training course compared to their white peers, according to new research. The National Foundation for Educational Research has warned that racism, discrimination and a lack of opportunities for promotion are damaging the teaching profession and driving away staff from diverse backgrounds. Sky's Anjum Pierbakos reports, and a warning: her report contains references to suicide, which you may find distressing.
This was the first judgment because we had to appeal.
Betty Knight was the only black teacher at her college in Alton, Hampshire. She was subjected to discrimination because of her race. In 2023, she took her case to court and won. But this took its toll.
To be honest with you, I felt really suicidal. I felt like, worthless. But I had to pull myself together for my students so they didn't have to see me in that way.
She was put on an improvement plan after an unannounced 25-minute lesson observation, despite excellent results. But Betty doesn't feel like she can go back to teaching now.
They just wanted to shut me down. They just really wanted to break me. They've changed who I was. I was a very outgoing person. Now I'm a different person. I don't go out, no. Well, I just feel very much like an outsider, which I never did. I just feel like I don't belong here, but I haven't got a choice.
A spokesperson from Havant and South Downs College said, the tribunal found that an email communication sent amounted to harassment related to the claimant's race. The tribunal found that the claimant resigned in part because of that email, and therefore the constructive dismissal of the claimant was an act of harassment. We apologise to Miss Knight for that act and any distress caused. The college values its employees highly and always endeavours to treat them fairly and equitably. Representation from ethnic minorities in teaching is an issue, according to a report published recently by the National Foundation for Educational Research. It says reasons teachers of colour are leaving the profession include racial discrimination and the lack of promotion opportunities. White teachers have a steady rise in progression, whereas black and Asian teachers have significantly less promotion opportunities.
People from ethnic minority backgrounds are vastly underrepresented in the teaching workforce, and that's down to a range of factors, including disparities in progression all the way from applications to initial teacher training, all the way through teacher retention to the way that head teachers are appointed.
Evelyn Ford was one of only 3% of head teachers from a minority background. She says she also experienced discrimination on her journey to headship.
Black and Asian leaders, we do have the credentials, right? We can do this job. But too often we're not given those opportunities.
The Department for Education said they were distressed to hear about these cases and that they're working hard to address the issue of racism in schools. Meanwhile, it's teachers of colour who feel the impact. Anjum Piabakos, Sky News.
And a reminder that if you've been affected by the issues raised in that story, help is available from the Samaritans 24 hours a day. You can call 116 123 or email joe@samaritans.org. The EU has called on the former Soviet Republic of Georgia to investigate claims of irregularities during this weekend's parliamentary elections. Many Georgians saw the vote as a referendum on joining the European Union or moving closer to Russia. The pro-Moscow Georgian Dream Party was declared the winner, as John Sparks reports from Tbilisi.
In Tbilisi, the business of life at the flea market made way for acrimonious debate about the election. Arguments breaking out all over after ruling party Georgian Dream won a convincing victory at the polls.
Are you happy with the election results?
No, I'm not happy.
You're not?
No, I'm not happy.
In a country where many have pinned their future on Europe, Georgian Dream has aligned itself with Russia, and that makes many feel uncomfortable.
There will be protests, definitely, which I will take part in. I think it's the only hope we have left to just come out and say what we have to say.
And what some are saying is the government rigged the election.
Do you think the election was fair?
I don't think so.
People's choices have been influenced by what they've been given, money and other stuff.
Voter turnout was high, with more than 2 million people casting their votes, but a wide range of complaints have been registered. Here, a clear case of intimidation as a member of the opposition is beaten up outside Tbilisi. And this, a blatant example of ballot box stuffing caught on camera. The opposition says the Russians are responsible for this. The billionaire leader of the ruling party, Bidzina Ivanishvili, is working on their behalf.
Now we're seeing the scenario where the government in Russia has just conducted a special operation of abolishing elections in this country. That's that simple. GRU has conducted elections in this country.
GRU, Russian intelligence.
Russian intelligence.
This is a Russian operation.
This is a Russian special operation.
It's a very strong charge.
This is our position.
There were hopes amongst opposition activists that international election observers would condemn the result. And they found evidence of dubious practices, but they stopped short of saying the election was stolen.
During our observation, we noted cases of vote buying and double voting before and during elections, especially in rural areas.
You said that your observers had witnessed vote buying and double voting. Is that indicative of what we have seen in this election? I think what a lot of people in this country want to know is whether this was a free and fair election.
I would reiterate what I have stated, and I will support all these elements without withdrawing a word.
The calm before the storm, perhaps, with the country's opposition and its president now calling for mass protests. A parliamentary election has solved little in this country. A national crisis awaits. John Sparks, Sky News, in Tbilisi.
Time now to get all the very latest sports news with Mike.
This Sky News Sports Bulletin is brought to you by Vitality. Getting more people more active. Live life with Vitality.
The first real footballing memory was Arsenal winning the double and my dad taking us to Highbury Corner to go and watch us do the parade. I can almost still feel myself like as a small child and my dad's hand being like in front of my eye and like just trying to hold on to my dad's hand so that we can walk through.
Yeah.
And it's so weird that it does that. Do you know what I mean? And it's an amazing thing. My first shirt was the Arsenal goalkeeping shirt in '98, and I had Alex Manninger on the back.
Why Alex Manninger?
I don't know. I was always a fan of like the rogue player. For some reason,